Welcome. I'm Chris. I'm from Transformation Nation Yoga and Wellness. And today, what I have planned for you is root chakra sunrise yin practice. So, one of the things that I wanted to tell you first and foremost is because of the nature of this practice, because it's themed around the chakras, I have planned affirmations in with every pose. I think there's some value there. I've got a blog post that's going to be coming out in the next week or two about this as well. But one of the things that I would say about the affirmations is just as if I gave you a physical pose that wasn't good for your body, it didn't feel good and it was hurting you, I would hope, expect, and support you in modifying that, adapting it, or just opting out and not doing it. If I give you an affirmation that's not good for your psyche, I would say the same thing. I would really hope, expect, and support you in modifying it, or opting out, choosing not to do it. So we'll get started in a seated position today. So find a good stable seat, maybe supported. So I'm sitting on a block this morning, so my pelvis will rotate forward. So you could elevate the seat or not, but stack the joints, float your head over your shoulders, over your hips. And then maybe on an inhale, find lots of length along the spinal column, growing from your heart and the crown of your head toward the stars. And then on an exhale, maintain the length and the alignment in your spinal column, but let your soft tissues reach for the earth. And I'm going to cue in a moment for a cleansing breath. And then we're going to open up with a bit of chanting. We're going to make the sound LAM, L-A-M, 3 times. This is the bija, the seed sound for Muladhara, the root chakra. And I'll talk more about that later in the practice. But let's start with that cleansing breath. Run a nice, deep, life-affirming inhale. And then exhale, let it out, maybe with a ha sound. And 3 times, I'll cue for a lam. You can choose to join us for the lam. You can choose to do it silently, or you can choose not to do it at all. Inhale. Lam. As you chant LAM, shift your attention to the base of your pelvic floor, right at the bottom of your spine. Inhale. LAM. Inhale. LAM. Come back to a comfortable, natural breath. And we're going to start with a reading this morning. This will be the tail end of chapter 6 of the Bhagavad Gita. And actually today we get about equal parts from our protagonist, Arjuna, and his teacher and mentor, Krishna. Arjuna said, "You've taught that the essence of yoga is equanimity, Krishna. But since the mind is so restless, how can that be achieved? The mind is restless, unsteady, turbulent. Truly, it seems to me as hard to master as the wind." The blessed Lord said, "You were right, Arjuna. The mind is restless and hard to master. But by constant practice and detachment, it can be mastered in the end. Yoga is indeed hard for those who lack self-restraint, but if you keep striving earnestly in the right way, you will reach it." Arjuna said, "Krishna, what happens to the man who, with faith but no self-control, wanders from the path of yoga before he becomes mature? Hasn't he lost both the here and the hereafter? Doesn't he, rootless and insubstantial, fade like a cloud in the sky? This is the doubt that troubles me, Krishna. I beg you, please help me, for only you can remove this doubt from my mind." The blessed Lord said, "Neither here nor hereafter, Arjuna, is that man lost. No one who does good work will come to an evil end. Reaching the heaven of the righteous after uncountable years, that man will be born again to parents who are upright and wealthy. He may even be born to parents who have practiced yoga and are wise. Though a birth as fortunate as this is more difficult to obtain. There, he regains the knowledge acquired in his former life, and from that point on, Arjuna, he strives toward the ultimate goal. Unconsciously, he returns to his former practice. Even a man who asks about yoga goes beyond formal religion, striving with constant effort, cleansing himself of all sin through many lifetimes. At last, he attains the ultimate goal. The man of yoga is greater than the aesthetics or the learned or those who perform the rituals. Therefore, be a man of yoga, my son. Practice yoga sincerely with single-minded devotion. Love me with perfect faith. Bring your whole self to me. And that concludes our reading for this morning. We'll pick up next week with chapter 7, Wisdom and Realization. And I've said this before, but it's been a while, so I just want to acknowledge it again, that the patriarchy is really apparent and at large in this story. All the references are to men. When we're talking about spiritual seekers, there's not a reason in the world why that story could not have been written with female characters, or an acknowledgement that the man or the woman, just a person. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's okay, but it is what it is, and it was how, and that's how it's written. My understanding of this is when I'm reading the man, I mean person, but that's just not how that story is written. So it is what it is, and that's what it is. We're going to begin, before we get into our first yin pose of the practice this morning, with some pelvic floor work. When I think about the anatomy of Muladhara, the root chakra, I think about the base of the spine. I think about the pelvic floor, but I also think about the knees, the legs, the ankles, and the feet. So I'd like you to visualize the front and back of your pelvic floor. And what we're going to start with is an exercise. It was traditionally called the Kegel. And when I cue you, it'll be a two-part exercise to start. On the inhale, I'll cue you to draw the front and back of your pelvic floor together. What does this feel like? The muscular engagement feels the same as when we're urinating and we have to stop the flow of urine. So I'll cue for an inhale, draw the front and back of your pelvic floor together, and then I'll cue you for an exhale to relax. So as a visualization tool, you might visualize that you have a bean in the center of your underpants. And when you draw the front and back of your pelvic floor together, you're picking up the bean. And then when I cue you to exhale, gently set the bean back down. So we'll do this 5 times. So exhale out all of your breath. Find length along your spinal column again. And then inhale, draw the front and back of your pelvic floor together. Exhale, release. Inhale, pick your bean up. Exhale, set the bean back down. Inhale, draw the front and back of your pelvic floor together. Exhale, release your pelvic floor. Inhale, pick up your bean. Exhale, set it back down. And then one more time. Inhale, draw the front and back of your pelvic floor together. Exhale, release and relax while I give you instructions for the second action. So we're going to build on that. So it used to be thought that the Kegel, it used to be considered sort of the gold standard for pelvic floor health. But now it's considered to be, my understanding is, a really incomplete movement. So it's a good starting place. So what we'll do, I'll cue you, it'll be a 4-count action. I'll cue you on an inhale, draw the front and back of your pelvic floor together, just like before. And then on an exhale, to lift the pelvic floor up as if you were touching yourself in your sternum. I know that you literally can't, but I'd like you to lift with the intention of touching the sternum. I'll cue you to inhale, release your pelvic floor, exhale, relax. And we'll do this 5 times. So once again, find length in your spine. Exhale out all your breath. Inhale, draw the front and back of your pelvic floor together. Exhale, lift it up to your sternum. Inhale, release your pelvic floor. Exhale, relax. Good job. 4 more just like that. Inhale, pick up your bean. Exhale, lift the bean up to touch yourself on the sternum. Inhale, set the bean back down. Exhale, relax. Inhale, draw the front and back of your pelvic floor together. Exhale, lift it up to your sternum. Inhale, release your pelvic floor. Exhale, relax. Inhale, pick up your bean. Exhale, this time lift it all the way up into your chest cavity beyond the sternum. Inhale, release your bean back down to the floor. Exhale, relax. Inhale, draw the front and back of your pelvic floor together. Exhale, lift it up to the bottom of your throat. Inhale, release your pelvic floor. Exhale, relax. Great job, friends. That is not easy. I always forget, it doesn't look like we're doing much, but in my body, that feels like work. So I'd like you to start in a butterfly position. So come onto your seat, maybe sitting directly on the floor at first. Now, eventually, I'm going to elevate my hips. But for now, bring the soles of your feet together, pinky edge blades of your feet on the earth. Maybe your hands on your ankles or the tops of your feet, and let your butterfly wings just flap a bit. So you can start slow and add some speed. We don't ever have to get fast or too aggressive here. And then let the butterfly wings start to slow down, come to an apparent pause. And here, if I just sit on the earth, my pelvis is tipping backwards. So I'm going to sit up on a bolster. I'd like you to have 2 blocks within reach. And I would like you to have at least 1, 2, 3 fist width distance between your heels and your groin. Could be as far as 5, but at least 3. And then you can stay lifted upright too. Float your head over your shoulders, over your hips. But you can start to fold forward. So the lower back is flat. But once you found your maximum range of extension, you could, if you like, round a little bit in the upper back and the thoracic spine. Now, if your body wants some support here, you could place blocks under your forehead or a bolster, or you might choose to place your elbows on the inside of your knees to rest your elbows right there and just bring your hands to your head to support your face and neck. Those are all options. For some of you, you may get a full fold and your forehead will come down toward the big toe edge blade of your feet and rest right there. But for me, if that happened, that would be, you would have to call EMS from wherever you are to come get me, right? So wherever you are in that continuum, it's all good. The words that I would like you to turn over in your mind here are, I feel deeply rooted. Or look for a level of sensation. I want you to feel something in this shape. And in fact, I would like it to be a little bit beyond comfortable. So I'd like you to flirt with that threshold between discomfort and pain. So what does that mean? Look for a version of this shape that gives you a level of sensation that you might think of as a dull achiness or a bitterness or a diffuse pressure. So on a scale from 0 to 10, where at 0 you felt nothing, and 10 would be excruciating, you'd be compelled to move. Start at a level that's at least a 4, not more than a 6. Right. So speaking of which, check in with your body. Notice where you are in terms of sensation right here. And then to add sensation, a couple of tools. You could lower your heart or your head closer to the earth. You could actually even with a straight spine, if you tuck your chin more in towards your chest, you'll light up the back line of the body. So if that's what your body's calling for, that's an option. And see if you can relax any muscular engagement you're holding on to that you don't need here. All right, we're going to start to transition. So if you already have stacked joints, your head floats over shoulders, over hips, you're in a good starting point. The rest of us will reach up there. So lift yourself back up, float your head over your shoulders, over your hips. Maybe take your hands on the outside of your thighs. And from here, I would like you to make your way onto your belly, grab a block. And we're going to find Sphinx pose. So walk your hands forward so your shoulders are floating over your elbows. Lengthen your legs long and then soften them. So everything from your lower back to the tips of your toes goes really soft. Maybe your ankles roll to the inside of the outside. Right? If you are type A and having, like I am, having your hands palms down compels you to drag yourself forward, flip them up toward the sky. And then release your forehead down to the earth. Now, notice if you have a tendency toward gripping in the glutes or the belly here. That's super common, super normal if that's happening. And it's not helpful for what we want here. So if you can, release that gripping, soften your belly, soften your lower back, soften your glutes. Right. Each chakra has an associated right, and the rights associated with Muladhara, the root chakra, are to have or to be. So the words that I'll ask you to turn over in your head while we're here are, like a tree or a star, I have a right to be here. When I first heard about chakras and the chakra system, I was intrigued, but I didn't understand it at all. And I have a really good entry point. Like I just couldn't wrap my head around it. And even in my 200-hour yoga teacher training, we had a 4 or 6 hour workshop on it. And I left still really confused. And the chakras seemed much more esoteric and ethereal than I could wrap my head around. Right, but I was a yoga teacher, so if I'm honest, there were times where I pretended that I understood more than I did. And then I went to Mexico. I went to my yin yoga teacher training, and my teacher, Annie Au, she had us do this bija meditation every morning. Bija, I mentioned earlier that Lam is the bija, the seed sound for Muladhara. So what we did is we'd work our way from root chakra up to crown chakra, and we do a chant of the associated seed sound. And we take a pause in between, and Annie would explain to us what balance looked like for that chakra, like a really succinct, summarized view. And the truth is, friends, the first 2 times that we did this meditation, I left and I thought, God, that's the weirdest thing I've ever done in my life. But it also felt amazing. So after 2 days, I thought, why has nobody shown me this before? Why have I not done this every day of my life? So when I came back home to Houston, I started teaching this bija meditation. Right, and like, I'm not sure how long you've been here. If you like, you can press into the heels of your hands, lift up into seal pose, but watch for really note for compression in the low back. So Annie guided us through this bija, this guided seed sound meditation, and it just blew my mind. So I came back to Texas and I started sharing that with my students. But I didn't invest at that time a lot of other study or even really thinking about the chakras. I just had this one practice. And anytime chakras came up, I felt a little bit like a fraud. Like I didn't have the understanding that I felt like I should have. And then, I don't know, a year or so ago, one of my students, who now is a teacher herself, was telling a story, and she was talking about sharing about the chakras, and somebody asked her, where did you learn all this? And she said, well, Chris taught it to me. And I thought, oh my God, Shakira, that's literally all I know, right? That was literally everything I know. So in 2020, I committed to, I'm going to have the 3rd week of every month as chakra themed classes. I'm going to share chakra themed social media content. And this is going to be my opportunity to lean in and learn a little bit more. So those bold proclamations tend to work really well for me. Like if I make a commitment like that, I'm not going to take it lightly. All right, friends, if you've chosen to transition from Sphinx into Seal, lower your forearms down to the earth. Bring your heart down to the earth, and then hands under your shoulders. Make your way into a tabletop shape, like a child crawling, shoulders floating over your wrists. And I'd like you to have 2 blocks close by. Now from here, step your right foot forward on the outside of your right hand. And maybe tuck the toes under your left foot under, walk that left knee back behind you a little bit. Now you may be fine right here. So we're in dragon. Hands on the mat are fine. If you see, I can't place my left palm all the way down and be comfortable. Hands on blocks might be nice. Hands on blocks at a higher setting with more or less stacked joints. For me, I get lots of pressure of gravity drawing the weight of my body down toward the earth. You could even, if you wanted, scoot that right foot a little further forward so there's less of an angle in that right hip. All right, look for muscular engagement that's keeping your hips, especially that left hip flexor, from sinking forward. That's what I'm really looking for here. And the words that I'll ask you to turn over in your head are, fear is my friend. Some of my yoga mentors, they gave me great recommendations for who I should be reading to understand the chakras better. And one that they referred me to is Anodea Judith. So I've read 2 of her books in an audio format, probably 3 or 4 times. One is called Eastern Body, Western Mind. The other is called The Wheels of Life. And Dr. Judith comes at the chakras from the perspective of a Western psychologist trying to take a more holistic view of helping her patients. All right, check in with your body. Notice your current level of sensation. You don't have to change a thing. I'm going to choose to stay right here. You could also bring your hands down, walk your hands forward. You could lower your forearms down to the mat or down to blocks, whatever's going to give you the sensation in the place where you need it. So I'm looking here for opening and lengthening along the front plane of the body, stomach and spleen meridian. This is earth element in traditional Chinese medicine, but I'm going to try to be careful and not mix these 2 energetic systems up too much. Right, so what I think about the chakras at this point is I think of it like I visualize an onion, and I know this is kind of a tired metaphor, but I feel like before I was just seeing that surface layer, the outer layer, the skin of the onion. And now I've peeled back a few layers and I can see a little bit deeper in. And it's helped me, and I'll tell you more about that in a few moments. But I also think that there's lots of juice and there's lots of other layers that I can't yet see. So there's lots of availability for growth there. So over the last 8 or 9 months, really digging in and learning more about the chakra system and sharing more about the chakra system, I feel like I've learned a lot. Now, like what I really ultimately want in my practice, in my life, connection with divine consciousness, I didn't get that through my study and learning about the chakra system, at least not yet. Is it possible? Is it out there? Maybe. I don't really know. But what I did get is a lens through which to better understand my life. I can look back at life experiences now, view them through a lens of the chakra system, and it makes sense to me with a depth and meaning that I never had before. So I thought I understood these life events. And I've since realized that my understanding was pretty shallow and unsatisfying. So Muladhara, root chakra, is earth element. In our affirmation here, fear is my friend. Each chakra has a scar or a demon that's associated with it. And for Muladhara, that demon is fear. Right, so the lower 3 chakras, root, sacral, and solar plexus, are a connection to the earth. No more so, nowhere is that more true than for root chakra. All right, friends, start pressing into your right heel. Bring your left hip back behind you first, and that'll create enough slack to unwind that right leg. And then maybe make some small circles with that left hip. Or you can step maybe that left foot behind your right foot from your tabletop, shift your gaze out over your right shoulder, whatever counter stretch is going to give you some comfort. And then once you've had an opportunity to counter stretch, step your left foot forward on the outside of your left hand. Maybe hands on blocks, maybe hands on the earth, maybe walk that right leg further back behind you. And then let your hips drape forward and down toward the earth, or maybe the back of that left heel. Just like the other side, you have the option. I'll invite you, if you choose, to scoot that left foot forward. Right, so those lower three chakras connect us with the earth. The upper three chakras, throat, third eye, and crown, they're our connection to our intellect and to divine consciousness. So the lower three chakras connect us to earth. The upper three chakras connect us to the heavens. And they're linked together, they're held together by the heart chakra right in the center of the system. Right, so one of the things that I'm learning is if you view the chakras from a standpoint of energy, as energetic centers, we can be balanced there, and that brings us certain qualities. So for example, with root chakra, balanced root chakra will feel grounded, stable, and secure. We'll feel safe. Well, we can also be out of balance, and we can be out of balance in either direction. So that chakra, the flow of energy can be blocked. The flow of energy could be deficient, or it could be excessive. Right, but regardless, whatever direction it's out of balance, it's not in balance. And then the other chakras have to adjust to compensate for that, which means they are out of balance too. So in the case of root chakra, if the root chakra is balanced, or if it is underdeveloped, like a deficient flow of energy, what you might see for someone is like a very weak connection with their body. So proprioception, a person's ability to be aware, their awareness of their place in time and space, really poorly developed. Sense pleasures probably hold little interest. So food, for example, might be not motivating at all for someone who's undeveloped or blocked in a root chakra. Fear would be a really common thing that comes up for that person. Right, overdeveloped might be sort of the opposite, like super grounded, but maybe really inflexible. And sense pleasures would be really important. So relationship with food might be really in the other direction. I went to my first acupuncture appointment was in Berlin, New Hampshire, probably 2006. And I don't know why this conversation stands out for me so strongly. Before we go there, friends, check in with your body. Notice your current level of sensation. I'm going to stay right here, minus walking my right leg a little further back behind me. But just like the other side, you could bring your hands down to the mat. You could bring your forearms to the mat or to blocks. Right? Find this, set this up so you get the sensation that you want in your body. So this acupuncturist and traditional Chinese medicine practitioner, he asked me a bunch of questions, and I guess I didn't think about it at the time, but looking back, I think he was reading my energy, seeing what my needs were. I remember asking him about his trade, and I remember him saying, well, I don't actually even have to do an interview, right? In theory, if I'm good at my job as an acupuncturist and the traditional Chinese medicine practitioner, the person, we wouldn't even have to speak the same language, and I could have a pretty good understanding of what their issues are and where they needed help and support. But he said to me during this appointment, man, you are grounded. You are so grounded, you can hardly walk, but you're not centered. You're not centered. Anytime you have adversity, anything that comes up in your life, it throws you off balance. And then you have to come back into balance some way. Right, which, by the way, was absolutely true for me at that point in my life. I'd like to think less true today. So I'll talk about that later in the practice too. I think we throw around the words grounding and centered as if they're synonymous, but I think there's some really key differences. So if one chakra being out of balance means the other chakras have to compensate, what else might be a deficient flow of energy in the lower chakras, especially root chakra looks like? So weak or blocked energy in the root chakra. So no connection to the body, but maybe really overdeveloped in the upper chakras. So for that person, they might not have a great connection to their body or their earth, but they can see things the rest of us can't see, right? And they will probably talk about them, which will look like mental health consumer. It might look like psychosis. I was in San Francisco. It's a long time ago. It was 1990 or 1991. I was in Fisherman's Wharf. And I walked by this homeless person. And I remember he was on his knees and he was weeping. He had something, like, I believe he had something on board. He was intoxicated with alcohol or something else. Ooh, and I'll tell you more about that in a moment. But first, start pressing into your left heel. Let your right hip start to slide back. Create enough slack that you can unwind that right leg. And then whatever kind of counter poses would bring you some comfort here, find those counter poses. And then as soon as you're ready, we're going to go into deer pose. So sit onto your right hip. Bring your right shin so it's parallel with the top edge of your mat. Put a big, generous bend in your left knee. And I'm going to stage a bolster in front of me. And I'm going to stage a block under my right hand. So initially here, what my goal for all of us in this practice is to allow gravity to draw the hips down toward the earth. So as much as you can, float the joints, float your head over your shoulders, over your hips. Now notice this is probably a very common tendency. My body with no support will cant off to the right. Right, so I'm going to place a block under my right hand. Remember, straight arms are strong arms. So as much as you can straighten that right arm, it'll require less muscular engagement and just allow you to lean into your skeletal system. The words that I'll ask you to turn over in your head in this shape are, I am grounded, stable, and standing on my own 2 feet. So Fisherman's Wharf, in this homeless person on his knees, weeping, looking up and talking. Now I've had an experience more recently where I think someone's speaking to me and I say, sorry, what was that? And then I realized they have an earpiece on, they're on the phone with someone that just kind of waved me off. But in 1990 or 1991, we just didn't have the tech for that, right? So this guy was talking, and as I walked by, it looked like he was looking at me. And so I looked at him and I said, sorry, what did you say? And then he made eye contact with me. And as soon as he looked directly at me, I realized he hadn't been looking at me at all. He was looking beyond me toward the heavens. And he said, I wasn't talking to you. And then he continued to weep and he continued whatever the dialogue he was having, right? So I remember thinking at that time, mental health consumer, under the influence, and that, both of those things could have been true. I don't know. But I also have this new lens and I wonder maybe this was someone who had a really developed or blocked root chakra and the other 2 lower chakras, but really upper developed, and he could see some things that just weren't available to me to see. So when we're grounded, what I think of is we feel really stable, really secure. Our feet are on the earth. We're really connected with our bodies. Whereas centering, I associate more with Manipura, the solar plexus chakra. And to me, this relates to how we deal with adversity. When we have challenges come up in our lives, are we resilient? Are we able to bounce back after we have these difficulties? Check in with your body. Notice your current level of sensation, and you can change nothing. You could stay right here and let gravity draw your hips down toward the earth. It's meaningful, productive work. You could fold forward onto your forearms or onto your bolster over that right shin. You could also, I'm not today, but you could walk your hands off to the right, and with or without a bolster, you could lower your torso down to the earth. Those are all options that will change your sensation a bit here. So when in the root chakra, the flow of energy is deficient or blocked, for that person to help them grow into their potential, we need to help connect them to their body. Right. So earthing, standing barefoot on the bare ground, is a really helpful practice for someone to open up and develop a greater flow of energy in the root chakra. So is some kind of practice where they're touching themselves, like a self-massage practice, particularly a self-foot massage, can be a really nice grounding practice for someone. And for someone who is more excessive in the root chakra, we need to help them discharge the energy. Right. So that might look like in any action that kind of strikes the feet softly or more firmly into the earth. So drumming the feet on the earth alone would help. Walking is a good practice. Jogging is a great practice to discharge energy from the root chakra. All right, friends, I'd like you to start, if you folded forward or to the side, I'd like you to start lifting yourself up. Bring your hands under your shoulders. Now, as long as you use good body mechanics, I don't care how you come out of this. One way I found that's pretty gentle for me, if you draw that left knee forward toward the right ankle, whoop, creates lots of slack. So you can just unthread that leg and set up onto the other side. Sit down onto your left hip with your left shin parallel to the earth. Put a big generous bend in your right leg. So your whole right thigh is parallel to the right hand edge of your mat. And for me today, again, I'm going to place a bolster in front of me. I'm going to place a block under my left hand. I'm grounded, stable, and standing on my own 2 feet. So I'll confess that in December or January, when I started trying to really dig in and learn more about the chakras, I was a little overwhelmed for a starting point. But there was a day that I was looking at a conceptual model of the chakra system. And I was reading through the characteristics of each of the chakras, what balance looks like, and sort of the realm of that chakra system. And in my natural resources career, I was trained in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, particularly with public speaking. And this is it's a Western psychological model for human growth and development. And it basically states, it's usually depicted like a triangle. So it's wide at the bottom, gets more and more narrow as you go up to the top. And in this model, it starts like with really basic physical survival needs, and then it goes up to social needs, esteem needs, and it goes all the way up to the very top. Maslow called this self-actualization. And self-actualization is where we have the opportunity to grow into our deepest potential as a human being. Right. And I was trained in this model, bought into it, understand it, saw it in action both in myself and my life, but in other people as well. So one little example of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If we don't make people feel safe, it's hard to get them to focus on anything else. So I don't know if you've ever had the experience, if you go to an out-of-town training event for work and something goes wrong with the ground transportation and you get there late and the session's already in. So they shuttle your luggage to the hotel, they shuttle you to the conference room, and then they hold your luggage until after the first day of training, and then they put you in your room. I'm a space cadet. If I haven't settled into my room, they shouldn't pay me for the day of training because they're not going to get very meaningful or productive work out of me. Right? That's an application of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. All right, check in with your body. Notice your current level of sensation. Again, staying right here. If you're in that range of 4 to 6, it's a good option. You could also fold forward over that left shin. You could walk your hands off to the left and find a twisted deer as well. Right, so I was in December or January, I was looking at that conceptual model of the chakra system. I was looking at the range of colors, starts at red, each chakra has an associated color. And then it works up all 7 chakras, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, just like we learned when we were kids. I started reading the qualities in Maslow's hierarchy of needs popped into my memory. And I went, oh my God, this is the same thing. This is the same thing. So I pulled up side by side on my laptop a model of Maslow's hierarchy of needs and the chakra system. And it's not identical, but there's so much overlap. It was really clear to me that there's some relationship. So I think my current understanding, the first couple of layers of the onion metaphor that I talked about of the chakra system, it's a little bit more esoteric and ethereal than Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but it's not much. It's really not much. What I appreciate, what I like about this, and what I appreciate about this, it's a really nuts and bolts way of looking at the chakra system that gives you an opportunity to apply it. And for me, has really helped me once again to find a different way of viewing past life experiences. Not my past lives, but past experiences in this current life. And start to walk your hands up onto your shoulders. And then unwind from the shape, maybe drawing your right knee forward to your left heel. Make your way onto your back. And then place the soles of your feet on the earth. Put a generous bend in your knees. Tee your arms out to the side. Walk your hips off to the right. And then drop your knees off to the left, twisted root. If you would, leave your gaze up toward the stars. So in order to maintain polarity and a flow of energy through the chakra system, the energetic qualities are different, right? So with root chakra, it's yang, masculine energy. So the qualities that you could associate with root chakra are hard, dense, stable, secure. And then third week of next month, when we talk about Swadhisthana, the sacral chakra, you'll see that is soft, fluid, feminine. So each chakra in the system, though, those masculine and feminine energies will alternate to maintain polarity throughout the system. Each chakra also has an associated psychological function. And for root chakra, this makes perfect sense. If you think about a balanced root chakra means that we feel stable, safe, and secure. The psychological function for Muladhara is self-preservation. The words that I'll ask you to turn over in your head here are, I trust in the goodness of my life. check in with your body. Notice your current level of sensation. You're fine right here. You're already doing the pose. Only if you want to add sensation, two tools. One, you could straighten your right leg. Let gravity draw that big toe edge blade of your right foot closer down toward the earth. You could also reach your right hand down, take a grip on the top of your left foot, and then reground your whole left leg and your right shoulder. Or if you like, not from my body, but it's possible to be able to do both of those, straightening the right leg and cat pulling its tail with your left foot in your right hand. My friends, if you've straightened your right leg, put a bend in your right knee. If your cat's pulling its tail, release your left foot. Bring your knees up to center. Walk your hips over to the left, and then drop your knees off to the right. I trust in the goodness of my life. Only if your body wants more sensation. Reach your left hand down, take a grip on the top of your right foot, reground your left arm, left shoulder, right leg, and or straighten that left leg. Let gravity draw that big toe edge blade of your left foot closer down toward the earth by any amount. All right, friends, put a bend back in your left knee. Release your right foot. Bring your knees back up to center. And then from there, make your way into any final resting shape. So you choose, could be on your seat, could be on your belly, could be on your back, might be on your side. I'm gonna ask you to look for three qualities today. One is a sense of grounding and connection with the earth. The second is, well, the second and third together really go in tandem. If you can find a grounding shape that also allows you to balance the sensations of feeling both relaxed and alert. Place your focus and your attention on your left thumb and let it relax. Then relax your left index finger, middle finger, ring finger. Relax the pinky finger of your left hand and your left wrist, your left elbow. Imagine that your left shoulder is so relaxed that you could melt down into your mat. Relax your right thumb, index finger, middle finger, ring finger. Let the pinky finger of your right hand relax, and then follow that by relaxing your right wrist, your right elbow, your right shoulder melts into your mat. Relax the big toe on your left foot. Same with second toe, middle toe, fourth toe. Relax the pinky toe of your left foot and your left ankle, your left knee. Your left hip melts into your mat. Relax the big toe on your right foot. Then your second toe, middle toe, fourth toe. Relax the pinky toe of your right foot, your right ankle, your right knee. Your right hip melts down and settles into place precisely next to your left. Visualize a wave of relaxation that starts at the base of your pelvic floor and goes all the way up to your sternum. Then relax your chest. Let your whole mouth relax, your upper lip, your lower lip, your jaw, your tongue, all relax. And the same with your eyes. Relax your eyeballs, relax your eyelids, and imagine what it would feel like if even the sockets of your eyes could release any amount more. Relax your forehead. Let any wrinkles, strain, or concern ease out of your forehead. And relax even in the crown of your head. Imagine that your whole body is so relaxed that you can melt down through your mat, melt down through the floor of your home, and come to rest upon the earth that supports us all. If your body's ready to start to introduce an element of movement, start with some deeper breaths. Drawing in a deeper inhale and a more full and complete exhale. And then maybe reanimate your body with other small movements, wiggling your fingers or your toes, for example. And if those small movements are pleasing, you could begin to go bigger, rotating your hands at the wrists, your feet at the ankles, or even taking a full body stretch. If you're not already on your seat, roll over onto either side into a fetal position. If you're on your seat, just maintain your seat. You're where we're going next. But regardless, on your seat or on your side, take 3 or 4 breaths. Feel again for your sense of grounding and connection with the earth. And honor yourself for all the hard work that you put in today. Before pressing yourself up into a seated position with your legs crossed, we've got one more grounding exercise before we dismiss class today. And for this, from your seat, I'd like you to take the index finger and thumb of both hands, almost like you were going to make shadow puppets for a child, but bring them to the center of your brow line and start tweezing and massaging the line of your eyebrow from center and work your way toward the temples. And once you've reached the outside edge of your brow line, you can release there, bring your thumbs, place them on the center of the upper eye socket, and apply gentle pressure of reaching the thumbs up toward the stars and a gentle pressure of reaching the chin down toward the earth. And then lift your chin back to neutral, release your thumbs, take the index fingers of both hands, place them in the center of the bottom eye socket. This time, reverse the pressure. So light downward pressure of the fingertips reaching for the earth, light upward pressure of lifting your chin up toward the stars. And once again, bring your chin back to neutral, release your hands, flatten your palms out, place the heels of your hands on the bottom of your eye sockets. Cup your hands over your eyes. Now, I'd like you to leave your shoulders stacked over your hips, but tweeze your elbows together, slightly together, and start releasing your forehead forward. So the crown of your head comes forward toward the top edge of your mat. But because of this triangular shape of your arms that you've taken here, you have lots of stability and support for your neck and your forehead. Lift your chin up to center. Slice your hands down into heart center. Thank you, friends, for the honor of allowing me to guide you through your practice today. May you find safety, stability, and security. Draw your thumbs to the space between your eyebrows. Blessings to you and your family. And that concludes our practice for today. Amazing work, friends. Thank you.